Hey everyone. So, what happened on the Tuesday of Holy Week? Well, Jesus did a lot of teaching. You can call it Teaching Tuesday to help you remember what happened. And there are quite a few chapters in the Bible talking about what Jesus taught on the Tuesday of Holy Week. He did some teaching in the temples. He kind of went back and forth with the Pharisees. They had some, arguments, and Jesus answered it. And then Jesus went to the Mount of Olives and he taught his disciples. And the overarching theme that kind of carries over through what Jesus was talking about the whole time was this idea of Judgment Day is coming and the end times. Jesus talked about what the world was going to be like. He was going to talk about what happens on Judgment Day. And there are a lot of chapters about it, but I just wanted to read to you one verse. It is at the end of the teaching section in the book of Luke, Luke chapter 21, where Jesus already explains that there's going to be a lot of suffering in the world at the end times. There's going to be wars, rumors of wars. This word pestilence shows up, which could be translated diseases, which I think is interesting for our day right now. But at the end of all that, Jesus says this from Luke chapter 21. Be careful, or your hearts will be weighed down with dissipation, drunkenness, and the anxieties of life, and that day will close on you unexpectedly like a trap. So, what Jesus says for people who are preparing for the end times, the day when Judgment Day comes, he says, be careful, or you will be weighed down with dissipation. I saw another translation that said carousing, drunkenness, and the anxieties of life. So, dissipation and drunkenness, they both have to do with this idea of drinking too much. And the whole thought behind it is seeking pleasure while the world is falling apart. So the world's falling apart and you're suffering. So what do? You seek after some type of pleasure or self-indulgence, including alcohol, which I find is interesting during this whole coronavirus thing. Sales in alcohol just peaked. They went through the roof. So what a lot of people decided to do, what it sounds like is, oh well, we're going to be in quarantine, so I better buy as much liquor as I can and wine, and I'm just going to sit at home and drink a ton. And I'm not one of those pastors that says you should never drink. That's not me. But I think there's something a little concerning about just people. They know they're going to go through a tough time, so the first thing they do is they say, "Well, better have a lot of alcohol around me." I also heard that pornography websites they spike through the roof right now too, with so many people being at home. So I definitely there are a couple ways how people handle suffering, and Jesus kind of points it out into two categories. He says you can either be self-indulgent, seeking after pleasure, or you can be weighed down by the anxieties in life. So you can either seek after pleasures, or you can sit at home and frantically worry. You can refresh news page after news page and be worried and say, "Oh no, what's going to happen?" So those are kind of the two pitfalls that people can fall into while waiting for Judgment Day to come. Is that you can be overly indulgent and seek after sinful pleasure-seeking activities, or you can just sit at your home and worry. And what Jesus is saying here is that one day God's going to come back, and don't let Jesus find you sitting at home worrying. Don't let Jesus find you with a big bottle of liquor in your hand and you're passed out drunk. Instead, he tells us to do this. Be always on the watch and pray that you may be able to escape all that is about to happen and that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. We are told to watch and pray. And for all the times where these last couple of weeks you indulged in some type of sinful activity, whether it's alcohol or something else, or all the times where you sat at home and just simply worried, just constantly worried over and over again, um, we repent, but we also know that the day is coming, and that's a day where we look forward to, We look forward to the day when Jesus comes back, where there will be no more pestilences or diseases or any type of suffering. And we know that we are in our Father's hands. That when Jesus comes back, we look forward to that because we know what Jesus did for us. He died on the cross for us, so now we don't need to worry about when he comes back. Because we are his children, and he will take us to his heavenly kingdom. So that's what happened on the Tuesday of Holy Week. Jesus did a lot of teaching. A lot of it had to do with Judgment Day. So look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Tell you about what happened on the Wednesday of Holy Week. God's blessings to you all.